Yeah. Oh, so you're recording, so we're good to go. Yep, go ahead and start. All right. All right, hello. We are live back on our third episode of the Boddy podcast. Tonight we got Jamie Smalligan and Joe Alexander as our guests. But first, our sponsor, Precision Properties LLC, North Central West Virginia's #1 landscape, snowplow, power wash. Please look them up in the link after the show. Bobby, to the intro.
As often said, tonight, our starting lineup, we've got 2 of the former members from the Sweet 16 team and the NIT champs. We have the 7-foot-tall first team All-Academic Big East. The man in the middle, Jamie Smalligan. The other starter from the team that's joining us, All-American, first team All-Big East. He's a 3-time Israel Cup champion, 8th overall pick in the NBA, Joe Alexander. Welcome to the show, guys.
Appreciate it, fellas. Hey, Joe, why are your stats so much better than mine?
I tried, Jamie. Jamie sells houses and makes a lot of money, if that makes sense.
Academic, all big. Thanks, guys.
I did my best. So let's jump into this, man. We'll start with Jamie. You can go first. Tell us what you're doing now, and then we'll jump to Joe when you're next.
I'm in Cincinnati, Ohio. Full-time real estate investing in commercial multifamily. I moved here. I played 1 year ball after C's in Europe and the Netherlands. After that, moved to Cincinnati. Spent a brief period in between 2009 and 2019 in Nashville. Back here now, I've got a 9-year-old son about to turn 10 and a 5-month-old baby boy as well.
Nice, congratulations. Yeah. Sounds like a successful career after playing basketball. Joe, what are you into these days?
Guys, I'm still playing, if you can believe it. I've been playing for 14 years. That's about it. That's the update.
That's the update. Still playing. Where are you playing at, Joe? Where are you at right now?
I'm playing a league called the Big Three. Up until now, I've been playing in Europe in like 5 different countries. And last year I played in Israel. This year, I'm not playing 5-on-5 anymore. I'm just playing in the Big Three. That's
What
it.
team are you on the Big Three? You already know your team?
It's Nancy Lieberman's team. It's called Power.
Oh, gotcha. What was your favorite place to play at, Joe?
Istanbul.
Really? Why?
Man, Turkey is an amazing place, man. Istanbul is just a city like from another planet. I don't know. You got to experience it to understand it.
Nice.
Great spot. Yep.
Jamie, in the Netherlands, you said you spent 1 season there?
Yeah.
What was it like playing there? Did you run into any former players that you played with?
Actually, so Frank Young, who was the year above me at West Virginia, he was on the same team. I mean, it was good. Honestly, like after the career I had, an underwhelming finish my senior year, I was kind of over it. Knowing that it would take a while and primarily being overseas to make serious money. I mean, that said, I got a pretty good deal to go over there in 08 or 09. It was fine. I mean, honestly, like I don't feel like I really took for granted what we had at West Virginia. But in terms of moving overseas and playing in front of 1,500 fans as opposed to 15,000 and busing all over Europe as opposed to flying and whatnot, and well, there's certainly a lot of practice in the NCAA, but when you turn professional, you've got 2 or 3 practices a day, 7 days a week, nonstop, and season's not 7 or 8 months, it's 11. It turns into a lot. So I just decided to move back and start the real career, I guess, in business and whatnot. Don't necessarily regret it. I've been doing that ever since.
Absolutely. So let me ask you this. You guys were roommates in college. You got to play for Hudson Beeline. Let's talk a little bit about that. What was it like playing for each guy? What were their differences? Just kind of dive into that with us. Go ahead, Jamie. Best on his nap.
You want me to start? It was 2 great coaches, right? With nothing bad to be said. I'm going to be clear, if what I say is going to sound critical, understand like they're 2 A+ Hall of Fame deserving coaches, just completely different ends of the spectrum in terms of what they their philosophy. Coach Coach Beeline was extremely strict on a lot of things in terms of, personal development and how you acted not only on the court, but in the classroom, in the community, et cetera. The way his philosophy in terms of, obviously our offense was extremely different and more intricate. Defense with the 1-3-1, and a lot of 3-pointers shot from all 5 positions. Coach Beeline was more of a, I'm going to bend you until you break. If you break, see ya. If you don't, then you're going to be the best you can be. I think he inherited a group of guys in 08 that he wouldn't maybe necessarily recruit all of us. Certainly some exceptions in there like Joe and Deshaun and whatnot, but for the most part, we were more of Beeline prototypes. But he pushed us, we bought in. The offense was more open flow, free play, as opposed to the structure that we were used to with Beeline, and defense was get up in their ass, grind 30 feet out for the entire 30 seconds on the shot clock, and you better rebound or you're going to come sit next to me. We always joke because I live in Cincinnati, and the Huggins connection has been good for me here and relationships and whatnot. And people ask how he is. It's like, well, he's an asshole for 4 hours out of the day, and he's the best guy I know for the remaining 20. He'd beat you down, and then he'd build you up, and he treated us phenomenally, but he pushes you to the brink, and he really makes you realize how far you can go.
Right. Joe, you got anything on the differences?
Wow, Jamie, what a great way to put it. The main thing is Jamie touched on what people don't understand about Hugs is that he's only an asshole 4 hours a day, and it's only for your benefit. So he's not really an asshole. Right. He does for you what you would hope your father does for you, which is challenge you. For me, that was my favorite thing about Hugs, which I came to realize that those 4 hours he's an asshole, he's giving you everything you didn't know you needed in life. Like, that's what I loved about Hugs. And he doesn't let up helping you once you leave school. He's on you to push you to do what's right in your life, right in your career. And his whole coaching staff is about that too. Like, that's what I love about them. I mean, that's not a difference though between him and Beeline. I mean, Beeline's a tremendous guy too. I just talked to him the other day, actually. They're just, I don't know, they're just different. I think they're in different points of their careers too. Like when we encountered them, Hugs was kind of not winding down, but he was certainly in a place where he felt more comfortable and content. So that gives a coach like space to not be soft, but certainly have different priorities. Like, the fact that Beeline left showed you, his priorities at that time were different, which it's no different than when the Hugs priorities were earlier in his career. So as far as the differences between them, I'll say, like, what people don't understand is that, like, they're both great teachers. Like, people think of Hugs as just like this hard-nosed bruiser, but like, he's a very serious teacher. I would say the most memorable moments I had with Hugs during practice was when he would stop everything and say to us, "I assumed too much," meaning he gave us too much credit as far as having a high basketball IQ, and then he would go into a 10-minute explanation of teaching us some basketball IQ based things, and not yelling it at us like everybody thinks, but really teaching us. Right. Most of his moments in practice were soft moments. He had a real skill in being able to deliver things softly with humor and making everybody laugh, even if he was making fun of the person his instruction was directed at. He had a real skill of doing that. I mean, certainly he had his explosive moments, but really he was a teacher at his core. And Beeline, of course, Beeline was a teacher. And his whole thing was in some ways, I think Beeline demanded more of us than Huggins. Even though people think, it's tougher to play for Hugs, I think it's tougher to play for Beeline, because Beeline demanded that you raise your basketball IQ, and he wanted to see you learning every single week. And if you weren't, I think Beeline was more inclined to be like, okay, well, this guy's got to at some point either step up or get left behind. Whereas Huggins was like, okay, if this guy doesn't step up physically, then, he's either got to step up or get left behind. And that's easier, I think, than what Beeline was demanding. Beeline wanted you to learn. And some kids, they can't learn at that age. They're not ready or they're not capable. So I think that was, another big difference between them. What else?
So you guys got in both at different points in your career. obviously, Jamie, you came in as, were you classified as a junior, right? So you had Beeline, you played for Beeline, you were older. Do you think you were able to respond better to him, as Joe was saying, like mentally you were able to grow? And then Joe, you physically, obviously you're still growing as you come as a freshman with Beeline. Do you think that helped you to respond with Huggins in that situation because you guys were at different points in your career too, growth-wise?
Nah, man. Sorry, I don't know who that was directed at, but like me, I wasn't able to respond to Beeline as well because, like I said, I think to demand that kids be intelligent and to approach the game from a cerebral standpoint is more difficult, like plain and simple. And especially some kids, they already naturally think of basketball as like a track meet as opposed to a chess game. And that was definitely me. So that's why I responded better to Huggins than Beeline.
Yeah.
Jamie, what about you? Which one did you respond better to?
I mean, Coach Beeline, he actually recruited me a little bit out of high school. At that point in time, he had yet to, he was just coming in there from Richmond. Yeah, from Richmond. And, West Virginia was a losing program. I didn't know much about the state, didn't know much about the university. I was 95% committed to Butler at that time. And it was just, sorry, it's a little too late to start this conversation. I honestly think it would have worked pretty well with Coach Beeline right out of the gates, simply because, and the other big difference between the two coaches is the type of structure that they look for. Coach Beeline is he's set up a lot of structure and running the program like a military academy or whatnot. I don't know. Joe actually went to a military academy. Maybe he can testify to that. Whereas Coach Huggins, that's his rules, non-negotiable. Leaves it for you whether or not you're going to break them or not and whatnot. And, it's kind of like, here's what I absolutely demand out of you. Here's what I will not accept. And then trust your judgment on the in-between. Yeah. So I think that's a big difference. Coach Huggins will allow, he's willing to take chances on people, which we've seen too, and try and take people that, maybe went out of JUCO because they weren't disciplined in school, maybe they made some mistakes or something like that, and give them a second chance. I mean, whether you're a new freshman that you recruited or an incoming transfer, those guidelines, still stand. I think, the way that I came out of high school and what I probably needed a little more was the structure that Coach Beeline provided. And then, the type of player that Butler turned me into, because I never even shot threes in high school or anything like that. That by the time I transferred and saw what Smalligan had been doing, it seemed like a perfect fit, and the rest is history. I was a fifth-year senior when Coach Beeline left. One of the things when I transferred was, one, I wanted to go to a winning program. Two, I wanted to make certain that I wasn't going to play for a third coach. Unfortunately, he had some success, and he decided to leave anyways. It is what it is. And I kind of thought, all right, I'm not going to go to the NBA. I have my degree. Should I just bounce? Should I leave? Joe and I are roommates. He is investing more time than probably any player in the nation in terms of work ethic on the court, as well as the ridiculous 24-hour on-the-clock routine and getting his body, while I'm having fun and enjoying and thinking that I'm halfway out the door before season even starts. So I kind of discredited what my fifth-year senior year was going to be like before, not tryouts, but preseason workouts, practice had started. And little, did I know, I ended up starting every single game and getting a shot. And it's like Coach Huggins had said, it's my fault. I played like shit. It's my fault that I couldn't shoot, because years previous where I'm putting in that work with, in myself and in bettering, and like what Joe was doing, or not even a portion of what that crazy man was doing. But, I was checked out. And then by the time that I had decided, hey, let's do it one more year, let's not leave the guys and see what happens, my skill set, et cetera, had suffered from it.
So let's pivot a little bit. So we heard this incident that happened, Jamie, where you got on the treadmill. So you got punished, right? You jumped on the treadmill. And can you take us through what happened that day from step one?
And what day I went in? I mean, you need to be getting a little more specific, because that was every single practice.
Did you get shot?
That was every day, bro.
Right. We heard the story where you got shot off the back of a treadmill.
And they had to call the ambulance and everything.
I don't think, no, that,
No,
I
no,
don't
no,
think
that
that
didn't
happened. There's one thing, I can only think of one player, and he will not be named, that intentionally fell off the treadmill. Because I think I just knew, like everybody did, that even if you do, he's just gonna make it just get back on it. He's not gonna have any sympathy for you. I mean, and not only are you jumping right on that thing, but you had better immediately get right back into the drill and do it correctly, or you're gonna go right back to that treadmill again.
Right.
How ridiculous is that, JB? Like looking back, how ridiculous is that scenario? Who dreamt that up? Okay, first of all, listen, you're playing bad because you're probably super tired. Like, you're probably not giving the effort that he wants because you're tired. So it's like, okay, how do we approach that situation? Let's have that person go run 15 miles an hour. Okay, what should he do when he's done? Let's put him right back in the drill.
Yeah. It's like Pavlov's dogs, he's conditioning you in a sense of not like to be too brutal, but he's pushing the limit of pain to where you understand I had better get to that other side of the opposite side of the rim on an opposite rebound, or I'm going to be running for 45 seconds. And then
there's no situation where anyone would suggest such a thing to me today where I wouldn't say I'm out immediately. Bye.
Joe, let me ask you this: how different is your career if Hugs doesn't come? Do you stay all 4 years at West Virginia?
Oh man, who knows? Who knows? I mean, there's too many factors. Like, would I have played a lot of minutes if Hugs didn't come? I don't know. Like, how would I have responded to not playing minutes? I don't know. Like, I was pretty explosive at the time. So, I mean, I really couldn't say. I know it's strange. It might seem dishonest, but I really haven't thought about it that much.
Did you think about transferring at any time? Or because I always wonder college athletes, do you bleed blue and gold? Or is it like, hey, I would have went somewhere else if it meant I was going to play with?
Listen to me, guys. I grew up in China, okay? I don't know what the Big East was when we were in it. I didn't know what transferring was. Of course, I heard the word bounced around. I didn't know anything about it. I didn't care. All I knew was apparently I got to go get up more shots. And if I do that, I'll be all right. I got to lift more. I'm being real with you. I didn't know about transferring. I didn't know what the options were, anything like this. When people talked about it, I was like, I guess I don't know. To me, the whole game was you're supposed to outcompete every single person where you are. And the notion of transferring to me at the time was something along the lines of let's pussy out and run away. And no offense to anybody that's ever transferred, but because obviously that's not true. That's a part of the whole game. Now in my life, I transfer twice a season. Any situation I don't like what's going on, I'm at home with my agent. I'm like, hey, by the way, I'm out. So like, but at the time, like I was stupid. I didn't know anything about college basketball. I didn't know anything about transferring. So when people were like, Joe, is this situation going to be good for you? There was no strategic way for me to approach it other than, I guess I got to work,
So that situation basically benefited you then, kind of the idea of iron sharpens iron, and you went into that situation like that. I think back to the conversation we had of, I don't even know if you remember it one time, it stuck with me. If there was no Michael Jordan, there always would have been somebody else that was Michael Jordan. So if Joe Alexander's not at WVU, there always would have been another guy that becomes Joe Alexander in that situation. Or if you transfer out, you become Joe Alexander somewhere else. You know what I mean? Blow up like that.
Maybe,
I guess.
Go ahead. I got nothing.
I watched Joe fall victim to what every freshman and whatnot does with, really medial, dumb, off the court stuff that lead to running and or dumb things that detract you from basketball that were due to a strict program under Coach Beeline. I think that the coaching change for him was kind of like not transferring, but it was a fresh start of where, he's not giving up on himself. He's probably emotionally exhausted from Coach Beeline and the way that program is, running. And this just gave him a fresh opportunity. You got to see the type of players that Coach Huggins wanted. You got to hear from him firsthand what he was looking for. And, but in answer to your question on whether or not I think he would have stayed 4 years or whether he would have had the career he would have. I mean, Joe has 6'8" with a 40-inch vertical, and a work ethic that nobody else has. Like Joe mentioned Joe, and he was going to put in that work. It's just, you know, I think if you see some differences in what Coach Beeline did at West Virginia to what he did at Michigan, I think adding a little bit more freedom in the system, you know, and when Joe got that freedom with Coach Huggins, he benefited a lot more. You know, there's no wins or wins, and both coaches' ways proven success. But I think that the NBA success that Coach Beeline did not have at WVU with guys like Mike Gansey, Kevin Pittsnoggle, was because of fear that they couldn't play without strict structure. And then he gets to Michigan, and he offers a lot more freedom and whatnot, you know. And Joe was able to learn and play within like, hey, listen, you know, there's freedom here. I just need to be the biggest, most powerful guy in the court, explosive guy in the court, and he thrived within it. I think, you know, it would have been hard pressed to find Joe. Maybe he wouldn't have been the 7th pick, whatnot. But where, you know, with a guy that Joe could very well still be playing right now had you not broke your leg. What, year 3 was that?
Yeah, year 3.
Yeah.
Joe, let me ask you this. At what point in your career, or what point in college, did you start to realize, like, I'm different than other people? Like, my physicality and my vertical and my athleticism has set me apart. Like, when was, like, the coming to moment where you're like, oh, shit, I'm that guy?
I knew it when I got there, honestly, because I had no frame of reference for college athletes. I had no exposure to them. I didn't play AAU. I never went to highly touted high school prospect camps. I didn't know anything about the level I was getting into, and I anticipated it being much higher than it ended up being. So, like, when I got there, I remember in my summer and we were doing workouts, I kind of remember looking around and being like, oh, like, I'm already physically not stronger and bigger, but just I felt different than everybody. So the one thing I was lacking was that I was super skinny. So, but other than that, I think I came in pretty athletic.
When did you put the weight and the strength on? Was that with Hugs' staff when they came in?
It's an interesting thing that happened, but basically, you know, Hugs told me after one workout, he said, hey, if you get your job done in the weight room, then I'll get you to the NBA. And like the lights went on for me. I was like, I've never had anybody say anything like that to me ever in my life. I've never had anybody mention to me like the NBA before with my name. Anyone that I respected, at least. And so for that point on, for the first time in my life, I stopped playing. Like, I stopped working out in the gym. I stopped running. I stopped doing everything. I just lifted. And so I lifted with the team, and then I would lift by myself again, like later in the day. And just did nothing except focus on gaining weight. And you know, Jamie and I were living together at that time. I'm sure Jamie remembers. Like, all I did was make meal plans, go to the grocery store, cook pasta. While my pasta was cooking, I'd be cooking chicken. Like, I was just hell bent on gaining weight. That was it.
Jamie,
My meal plans, it was he had a rice cooker with an auto set timer on it. Would literally wake up in the middle of the night at least once, sometimes twice, simply to eat. He would have 2 trays of bacon, or not bacon, chicken breast, or it would be an entire pot of pasta with a scoop of peanut butter in it. We had to get a 50-gallon trash can in our kitchen, and it was so nasty that we had like a little fly from the living room because all the nasty food in trays. I remember we had, oh God, Joe.
Dude, we had raccoons.
And he started peeing in Gatorade bottles and put it on the table.
Yeah, bro. Dude, our living situation was, it was
Jamie,
awesome.
it was awesome. At this point in your career, do you even give a shit, or are you just laughing at Joe when he's putting all this? Because I mean, your career's winding down, like you said. Are you even giving a shit about working out or eating right? Or are you just like, man, I'm gonna ride this year out and see what we can do?
Now?
No. Back then, senior year.
Oh. Well, I mean, we got like, it's not obviously, and this is the big difference too. Like, you talk about Joe, you talk about a lot of guys. Like, you know, if you look at what Rob Summers was able to do between his junior and his senior year, from being a guy that hardly sniffed the floor, didn't look like he had much hope at all, to being, you know, a huge reason for our success in that NIT season, was because he was spending extra time in all the time. I mean, everyone did what was required. It's the difference is what these guys are doing above and beyond. You want to talk about Coach Huggins' #1 fuck you speech. It's, you know, Ray Allen wouldn't leave the gym until he made 10 threes in a row from every different location and blah, 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 and, you know, and just talk about what everybody else does above and beyond that you are not doing, and how, if you're only going to do the minimum, if you're not going to do more than what everybody else does, how are you going to be better than everybody else? You know, so my thing is not that I wasn't spending, I mean, we had still open gym 3 days a week, lifting 4 days a week, running plant, you know, like all that was being done. But guys like Joe, guys like Darius, Deshaun, you know, they were still getting in there above and beyond that. You know, some people leave the gym completely exhausted, ready to go home, and these guys are still going in there to get up 100 extra shots or something.
Yeah, let me clarify this too. So, I mean, Jamie, like all of us, was in the program from hell. I mean, like the Bob Huggins regimen is from the start of the summer when he got there until everybody left at the end of the NCAA tournament was hell. I mean, I look back on it and I'm like, nobody really knows this, but like part of the reason I left was I was like, I'm not going through that again. Like the lifting, there's nobody's imagination was like Jamie like hanging out. Nobody hangs out in Bob Huggins' system.
Yeah.
Like guys used to leave the weight room curled up in the fetal position in the shower. Like you go home and you think every single day, I'm quitting. I'm out of here. And that's the God's honest truth. You leave practice every day and go home and say, I'm done. This is stupid. So,
yeah.
So to Bobby's point, so what's the difference? How are you doing extra, Joe? Like it's the program from hell, but you're putting in all the extra work. Like how? Like was this a deep passion, or what was the deal?
Passion, man. I had problems at the time. Like I had personal issues. Like the biggest one was that I had like this neurotic behavior that if I didn't get in a specific quota of hours in the gym, then I thought I was going to die. So like we used to practice 3 hours a day and then lift. And I used to only credit myself an hour and a half for the practice because I didn't have the ball in my hands all the time. And my quota every day was 3 hours a day, my whole life with the ball. So I credited myself an hour and a half above Huggins practice. And I used to think like, if I don't get my extra hour and a half in, I'm going to die. So it wasn't about like, oh, this is difficult, I did enough. It was just a problematic habit that I had. And luckily that was the case.
So Elijah was on with us making, played after you guys a few years and was telling us that it was, when they had fights, guys were fighting every day in practice. And it was, you know, basically like a fuck you system. Everyone's working on their own fighting, but then you guys all came together again and were brothers. You guys had that same feeling? Were there fights in practice?
No.
You guys going at it like that?
No. Look, when people relay the sentiment about there's fights in practice, they're trying to convey the intensity of it and the level of competition, which that you could say we were fighting. It's true. Like the way that you feel when you're in that foxhole is like you're getting shelled. It feels like a fight, but if you were in there watching it, you would think like these guys are actually just here learning. They're more like in a classroom than anything. So,
but I mean, I can remember without naming names, Joe getting in a fight in practice. Yeah, he got called out. It was the only time I'd ever seen Joe leave the court first. And, you know, before we're about to run sprints, and someone had called him out for it, and that was not received well. I don't think anyone can really question his commitment.
I might have been at that practice, guys. Was that Nate Sowers?
That was my very good friend Josh Sowers.
Sowers. Gotcha.
I mean, John Flowers punched me in the face in practice, like stuff like that. Like it's like Joe said, you know, it's not just a physical challenge, it's a mental challenge. And during that mental, you get some frustrations and you might act out a little bit. So, you know, we went at it same times. You know, you think about guys like you watch Joe Mazzulla on the floor and how annoying he was to the other team's defenders. Do you not think that he was not doing that to our team as well? You know, like you don't think that pisses guys off? And, you know, you turn the ball over, you're probably going to go run for 45 seconds. So you're going to get pissed off here eventually. But yeah, I mean, I look at some teams that Huggins had in years previous, and you look at the lull of years. I wonder what the chemistry is going on this year, to be honest. And feel for those guys. But like, I remember, what was it, 5 years ago? We lost about 7 guys in the off season, 6 or 7, and you didn't have any stud recruits come back, but the core that remained and the transfers that came in, and then boom, they're already back in the top 25 the next year. And that's simply down to team chemistry. So I don't know if Elijah was alluding to internal battles and whatnot. When I was at Butler, I roomed with another big guy. It always seemed awkward because we felt too much like competition as opposed to teammates. Whereas at West Virginia, it was a lot more professional in the sense of like, we're all going to be honest with ourselves. So whoever's the best person on the floor deserves to be out there. I hated that I didn't play much my senior year. I got a chance to start every single game. If I played well, I continued to play. If I played like shit, the coach gets somebody better in there. And that's the way it was. And I wasn't sitting on the bench complaining. There's a lot of me first agendas out there in every single team. And the teams that seem to succeed and cohese the best are the ones that put aside their personal agenda.
So obviously you're following the team now. Joe, do you still watch the current team? Do you follow with the team or pay attention to what they're doing?
Bro, I haven't watched a West Virginia game since the day I left.
Why? Yeah, why?
Bro, I don't watch basketball. I don't think I've watched an NBA game in like 8 years, maybe 10, a full one. I don't watch basketball, bro.
I watch it all. So,
Nope,
Jamie,
never.
when's the last time have you guys both been back though? I know you guys come in time to time. Hugs used to do his fantasy camp. Do you guys come back and do stuff with the team ever?
I've been back a number of times. I love going to Morgantown in the summer. I did his fantasy camp. I did something with TBT with John Flowers. Like, I go back pretty routinely. I think of Morgantown as a home for me.
Yeah, Huggins makes the campus very open. Part of that whole new practice facility. It's not that new anymore, but 10 years ago, is just welcoming players to come back and continue to get treated and get developed in the summer too. Obviously, I didn't have a reason to keep getting treated and whatnot because I'm done playing. But I still, I like to go back to watch games. I try and tie one in where I can watch a football game and maybe a preseason basketball game in the future or in the same weekend. And that, but at the same time, I like to travel to watch the team. I prefer to go watch them in gyms that I haven't seen, following the NCAAs and stuff like that, than necessarily go back to Morgantown.
Joe, can we see you on a TBT team here soon? Is that something that's going to happen?
I played in TBT 3 years ago. I can't remember, but nah, I'm not. I'm done with TBT, bro. So it clashes with the Big 3 schedule anyways.
Gotcha.
We're recruiting for the body. That's why we're asking.
Yeah.
The body TBT.
The body TBT.
The body TBT.
Is Danny on that team?
Danny's not on that team.
Danny, all I see are 2 glowing eyes right now.
Yeah. So Danny has his screen blocked, so nobody who can see it recording because he's our technical guy in the background. Joe knows him too.
I don't care.
We all see Danny. He looks like a demon in the background.
He looks like a lurking raccoon.
We can see him. So let me ask last question about Hugs and Beeline. If you guys could pick who you were going to play for right now, looking back at it, Joe, you stay with Hugs. Jamie, do you pick Beeline, or is it you want a combination of a coach like that, or just somebody completely different?
I mean, for the skill set that I had, whether I was going into high school or coming out of high school or transferring, I mean, it was certainly better suited for Coach Beeline. I don't think that I would have had the opportunity to play for Hugs if he had the choice. He just had to have me. But and seeing what he did with players that were his skill set, that were their types of recruits, and turning them into literally the best that they probably could be in that situation, it'd be tough to turn him down. So no slight against Coach Huggins, but I would say probably Coach Beeline.
Joe?
Yeah, I'd take either one. I mean, I think they're both maybe future Hall of Famers, and you'd be blessed to be coached by either one of those guys, whether they get you to the pros or not. What a thing to have said that you did in your life.
Which one are you picking, though? Not both of them.
Which one am I picking? I mean, if I'm in college again, obviously Coach Huggins, because I wasn't prepared for someone as cerebrally oriented as Coach Beeline. So.
Joe, what's your best Jamie story? If you were roommates, you played together, doesn't have to be a basketball story. What's the funniest or the best, or what's the best thing you got to tell us a story of Jamie?
Man, I'm not good at telling stories, to be honest. Mostly because I don't remember anything. I don't know. Jamie, what's the best you story that I was around for?
I don't know. I mean, a lot of these stories I don't want to talk about even on an edited podcast, but
we didn't do a lot. Like Jamie and I had like the best roommate situation for me because like I didn't party in college. I don't have any stories with anybody, by the way. I didn't party. I didn't do anything. I just worked out. And so Jamie was like a great roommate for me because like we didn't have expectations or any agendas like let's go home and get ready to go out and party. So like our stories is just, I don't know, we just lived together. Like, what do you want from me? Like, that was it. Like, so like
no good practice stories. No, Jamie, you got one on Joe to share?
I mean, we already touched on some of them, seeing Joe's arguments on the court, seeing like the fiercest, most competitive Joe when you really pissed him off. Thankfully, we were both starters, so I didn't have to guard him and get dunked on 100 times in practice like some of the other guys did. But it was just, I mean, Joe is the reason that I still consider him a very close friend, and I like talking to him is like his mindset, both not towards like seeing someone that's committed, like realistically, but also he's just a different thinker. Like he is, I mean, he was a philosophy major in college. He would scavenge, as we're moving into this 2-bedroom up Lawyer Road where he's walking down the streets trying to find furniture that people are throwing out. Do you remember, Joe, that you brought this like 300-pound record player that didn't even work and dropped it on me up the steps?
Jamie, I still do that, bro.
Yeah, I bet you do. Well, but it's like he's an interesting guy to talk to. It's hard to take him seriously. Right now, you can see he's half asleep and whatnot. But I mean, we have nothing but good memories. Doesn't say we didn't butt heads and whatnot. A lot of it was about me dominating the TV, playing video games too much, and Joe just being nasty with all of his food and trash all over the place.
God, I was disgusting.
Yeah. Joe, catch us up because we didn't really go over this at the beginning. Where are you at now, and what time is it?
It's 3:00 in the morning. You guys understand what I did for you? I went to bed at 1:00, and then I woke up at 2:30. And when I woke up, I was half awake when I picked up my phone and clicked this link. Thrust onto center stage.
We appreciate it. It's 8:00.
And I don't even know what the body means, bro.
Nobody does. That's
we'll explain it to you someday, for sure. Both you guys, I got a question for both of you to answer here. Everybody always does like welcome to the NBA. Joe, you said you didn't know what the Big East was. Jamie, you transferred in for Butler. What was your like welcome to the Big East moment? I know, Joe, you went to school with the guys that played the Big East too, Frank Young. Or not Frank Young, sorry. They played a Pitt. What was like welcome to the Big East moment where you guys can think back and think like I got my ass busted or I did something that was great, the crowd went crazy?
That's a tough one.
I can tell you what West Virginia fans think, Joe. When you dunked on the guy from UConn, that's still a highlight they play all the time.
The welcome to the Big East, that was when I left.
I mean, it was late.
I appreciate it. I do appreciate you bringing it up. I do appreciate that. Okay, all right. So my I guess welcome to the Big East moment was like when we were when I was in my junior season. This was my 3rd year there, and guys started talking about how good we were, and they were like, "Oh, we can win the Big East tournament." And I was like thinking to myself, I didn't say it out loud. I was like, "What's the Big East tournament?" And this was like towards the end of my junior year before the tournament started, and I was like we're playing in a tournament this year. And then I saw the teams that were in. I was like, all right, we're going to play against Georgetown, or we're going to start against who do we start against? Providence. That was like my welcome to the Big East moment. Was my junior year when I realized what the Big East tournament was.
Yeah. I don't know if it was as much of a welcome to the Big East as much as it was a welcome to high major basketball. At Butler, within the first 4 or 5 games I was starting for my whole freshman year. I was always a guy that, believe it or not, was decently athletic and, stronger because I had lifted heavily in high school as well. And then I remember transferring to, West Virginia and right, before within the first 2 days, it was, hey, let's go play some pickup at the rec center. It was me, Darius Nichols, Rob Summers, Joe, and Alex. And within the first 10 minutes, I'm used to getting up, bodying people, blocking shots. And this freshman kid named Joe turns it one dribble and just dunks it two-handed. I was like, wow, like that's never happened before. I don't think ever, and then flash forward to, obviously this is my sit out year. I'm playing against Kevin, who he's, I don't know if his jersey is going to get retired or what. He's in the West Virginia Hall of Fame. So the competition level of that position was something I'm not used to. And I'm thinking between, him, we've got Gansey, we've got Pat Beeline, we've got, Joe, why is our point guard's name escaping me?
JD Collins, right?
Yeah, JD Collins. We've got team is absolutely legit. I think, didn't we start that season 2-3? We lose to Kentucky, we lose to LSU, and we lose something. It's like, wow, like a team this good playing high major teams is going to start out 2-3. Like this is the real deal.
Yeah. Jamie, how much? I don't know how you feel. You and me never talked about this. Like, my favorite times of West Virginia playing with the team was open gyms in the summer. Like, that was my favorite shit.
Yeah. I mean,
I felt like all the players, they showed up as different guys than the fans would ever know. They showed up as different guys than you would know them later as in practice. Because they were always like trying to find themselves, trying to develop something new. And they would, like, the veterans would maybe show up more playful and relaxed, and they would show you parts of their game that you hadn't seen before, play different positions, try different things, and that was also the younger guys' chance to go at older guys. Like, there were no coaches around, there were no expectations, and you were like, almost like the gloves are off, and I get shit on every day in practice, told what to do, getting told be here, be there, but you're not protected by any of that today. And you're going to see who I really am. I loved open gyms, man.
Was open gyms just West Virginia players? Is that all you guys had?
No, there were guys from other schools that would. Bobby, did you play in an open gym one time?
Hey, Joe, I'll be honest with you. We had gym class together, basketball gym class. Me and Joe Mazzulla won the championship, and we knocked you out, just so we're clear. Whoa!
There's no way I cared in the slightest about any. There's no way I ever crossed half court in any of these games.
Buddy, I may or may not have made a couple layups on you, but I definitely want to change you. I don't think I ever.
Bobby, listen, for everyone listening, Bobby was a good player, like really good player. Like, he could shoot. He had the best thing you had was that you thought you were so good, which is like the best thing you could have in basketball. Like, he had crazy confidence, and not unfounded. Like, he was good. Bobby. I mean, how can I make people understand this? You could play. Like,
hey, I tell people all the time, Joe, I'm the guy in the rec center. If I'm 6'8", I'm in the NBA.
Yeah, I enjoyed.
I don't know about that. Tell him, Joe, it ain't that easy.
I mean, there's a lot of 6'8" guys out here. I mean, you look at if Wellington, look at Wellington Smith, look at that guy. If you look at a guy who has everything, look at John Flowers. I mean, you look at guys with bodies from outer space, athleticism from outer space, skills from outer space. Like, I know guys that are 7 foot with skills from outer space. They can handle the ball. They can shoot threes. They are the most intense, competitive guys you could imagine. Like, they want to tear your face off, and they know everything about the game. Can't crack the NBA. The NBA is a different animal. It's not that. It's not.
Why can't they crack it? I mean, you made it to the NBA. Why can't they?
Because the NBA has trump cards in both directions. Meaning, it doesn't matter necessarily how amazing you are in all these different facets. If you've got this one trump card that makes you a liability in certain places, it might pull the plug on everything that you have. And by the same token, you can have all these deficiencies. You can be a big pile of garbage, but you might have one trump card in the right direction that says, I can do this against any person on the planet and nobody can stop it. And you can ride that trump card to the NBA if it's high level enough, if it's head and shoulders above every single person on earth. Like, and it's just too competitive, man. People don't understand. Like, people don't understand how good overseas players are. and then the best overseas players, and then the best of the best overseas. Like, they're from outer space, and those guys, can't even touch the NBA. Like, how can I make people understand it? I never could.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I mean, and how frustrating is it to be a guy that's got, like me and Jamie were talking before we hopped on here. You're 6'8", 40-inch vertical. You've got all the skill set, and like you said, one guy finds a niche. And I know you're watching a guy play in the NBA and say, I'm better than that dude. But he's in the NBA because he does something better than anybody else. And that's crazy to sit and think about. But you might be a better player and have to find a different route.
Yeah, man. I mean, every player, if they're real serious about playing pro, they need to understand that basketball is not what you ever thought that it was. And it's much, much different than putting a ball in a basket. And in no way am I saying that it's some kind of political game. That's not at all what I'm saying. I'm just saying the game is much bigger than what happens in terms of the traditional skills that you think you need. Dribble, shoot, pass, play defense. Even between the lines, those things are the very beginning of everything, the very beginning. Interpersonal relationships, managing your perception in organizations, managing your stress level, positioning yourself correctly so that your skills can be optimized by the organization, by the teams that you're with, being complimented well by your teammates, and navigating the ups and downs of a season, and changing your approach to the game, how you play, deciding which skills to bring out at what point. Like, that is a part. I'm saying a part. There's more. That is a part of the game of basketball. And if you don't have those skills, then you have nothing. I don't care how good you can shoot threes. You have nothing. And so, like, when people say, oh, this guy is not as good as me at basketball, that's usually from guys who don't understand basketball. They don't know what real professional skills are. All they can really put their finger on is, ball go in, pound ball, make crossover. They don't get it. And most of the time, those guys that are in the NBA that you think they're not that skilled or they're not this and that, they have a much healthier understanding of basketball, and they're much better than you and me.
I gotta ask you. So we asked what the welcome to the Big East moment was, and you're telling us about the NBA. What was your welcome to the NBA moment? Where, I mean,
I'll tell you that one real easy. So I left West Virginia and was at West Virginia with an attitude from hell, which is something that you pray to God for and you have to cultivate, but also you got to pray that it's not interrupted. And I had it interrupted in a second in the NBA. I remember I was in practice and I went to do a spin move on one of my teammates. His name was Charlie Bell. I've never told this story before. And I did the spin move and he yelled in my face. Can I swear on your podcast on the Boddy?
You can say whatever you want. Say whatever you want.
He yelled in my face, motherfucker, hell no. And it wasn't even a contentious situation, and he wasn't too demonstrable with it. It was just the particular flavor with which he said it, and maybe the emotional place I was in with which to react to it. I remember it demoralized me in a way that I didn't think I could be demoralized. And part of the trick in the NBA is to maintain that avatar that you built for yourself. Because the avatar that you built is your on-court personality combined with how you're going to interact with people around the organization so that they can start to perceive you as not just a motherfucker, but as a potential high character pillar of the organization in the future. And, that means much more than just putting your best foot forward. It means creating a whole new side of you that didn't exist before and then cultivating it, watching it grow yourself, like figuring out from other people how to contribute to it. And a big part of that is coming in every day with supreme, unshakable confidence. And I remember having that at West Virginia after never having it before in my life and building it up. And I remember getting to the NBA and having Charlie say that in my face. And then a few more successive instances like that, where I was like, as much of an asshole as I am, these guys are every bit of that every day. Like that was one thing I learned at West Virginia was that there was a point where I realized, oh shit, like I can show up as an asshole and no one's going to do shit about it. And that's part of like what kind of set me free in a way was that as a kid, you think I got to show up and be coachable. Like I got to show up and do things right. And what I learned at West Virginia at one point when things snapped for me was I was like, no, I got to show up and do things wrong and challenge anybody to stand in my fucking way. And when I started to do that and realized nobody's standing in my way, like all anyone wants to do is get out of my way, not only coaches, but teammates and especially opponents. You know, all this shit I would hear on TV about this team is tough, this player's tough, this tournament's tough, the stakes are high. I realized if I just hit somebody fucking hard enough, they'd get out of my way because they all really just wanted to go home. Like they were all tired and fatigued from practice. They were all beat down energetically from their coaches and they wanted to go home. And so the difference when I got to the NBA was I realized these guys were assholes from sunup to sundown. And there was nothing I could do in practice to show up and be an asshole that wouldn't be met with equal force. And I was too young at the time. I was inexperienced. I didn't learn yet how to deal with that. But I remember coming to that realization that me showing up as an asshole, it's not the same situation as it was as an amateur. And that's the main difference between amateurs and pros, is that amateurs, they're going to move out of your way if you bring everything that you got. Pros, they're not going nowhere. And even if they're smaller than you, even if they're not as good as you, they're not moving.
Joe, I got to be honest with you. That's the truest answer I think I've ever heard anybody say, welcome to the NBA. Because let me tell you, the guy you're talking about, Charlie Bell, undrafted, free agent, bounced around the Euro League, all over the place. Most people are telling, oh, Kobe Bryant did this because they don't want the pride. That's the truest story I've heard about. Like, I made it to the NBA, man. Because those guys, people don't tell me. They don't want to give Charlie Bell credit. But obviously, like you're saying, the dude's a dog if he's in the NBA. That's, you know, and then the follow-up with that shit, Jamie, did you guys see that change in Joe? I mean, you were with him every day. You roomed with him, but on the court, did you see when that hit with him and he thought, man, I'm going to show up and basically bully everybody?
I think you could see with Joe, you know, where things kind of clicked. Like he came into his last year with a completely different physique, like 40 additional pounds of straight muscle without losing a step of athleticism. It was something. And you know, there's one thing to say about Joe and what he might have lacked in the beginning is what he alluded to just from his upbringing being in Europe. Like he didn't have the experience of AAU. He didn't have the experience of high-level high school basketball. And, you know, where he did have the drive and did have the athleticism, he needed some time to catch up in terms of just understanding how to make the game a little bit easier. You know, Joe was able to force the game to work for him because of, you know, sheer determination and athleticism. You look at somebody like Deshaun Butler with just this unbelievable basketball IQ with not a quarter of the athleticism that Joe had, that was able to click right away as a freshman because of that understanding. You know, we kind of went into this question of Joe's rant on how good the NBA is because you asked who all comes to open gyms. You know, I think it kind of sucked at West Virginia. Yeah, we got some guys that played from overseas. I wish we would have had a little bit more mix in of maybe like Fairmont State and not. You know, Coach Huggins signed us all up for a off-season. I mean, what do you want to call it? I guess, you know, summer ball up at Carnegie Mellon. We actually played on the team with Pitt players, and there'd be like 2 West Virginia players, 2 Pitt players, and then a mix of D2 and D3 guys. When I was at Butler in Indianapolis, because of the metro location and proximity to the Pacers, like we had the Pacers coming to play with us and the best high school players, you know, McDonald's All-Americans all the time. You know, I remember when I was a freshman, they had like Jeff Foster as a center for the Pacers back then. Al Harrington, Ron Artest came one time, scared the shit out of us after that. I mean, they had, I can't remember, his name escapes me right now, but like what Joe's saying, they're like third string point guard, came and played the most. And he made every single one of us look so bad. Like you could throw a perfectly hot direct pass cross court, and this dude was stealing every single one of them. A college 3-point line, which, you know, at that point in time was like high school line. It was moved back an additional 9 inches, which isn't even that much. I mean, those guys make it look like a layup compared to what the NBA 3 is. You know, I think, and I like watching the NBA more than college right now because I can appreciate these guys, especially like my class. Like LeBron James is my was my graduating class, 2003 in high school. And, you know, we played on the AAU circuit a few times, and obviously he was good. I mean, what I most like about him is the way that he invested in his career and his body and maintaining, you know, to be able to do it for as long as he can. Like, if you think it's sheerly freak athleticism that's kept this guy performing at the level that he is right now, no, like, you see it. I mean, people rag on him for posting his videos about what he does in the off season, but this guy treats it like a professional 365 days a year for 18 years.
Definitely. All right, so 2 questions real quick. This is going to follow in because Jamie didn't get the hot chip challenge on our part. We had a shipping incident, supposedly. Jamie didn't get it. So I'm going to ask Joe first. Joe, what's your favorite moment in the NBA or in college or overseas of a play that you remember that you think like that defines you as a player?
No, nobody would give a shit. Like, that's the best thing about being a pro is that, like, this journey is yours and yours alone. Like, fans can't relate to like what we enjoy as pros. So I'll tell you what it is, but it was the times in practice before practice would start when I wasn't sure if I could walk. And I was debating whether to tell my coach, like, I can't practice this week. In fact, I need to go to the doctor, and probably on Monday's game, I can't play. And I would be debating that back and forth. And then I would just say, fuck it. And I would put my shoes on and I wouldn't say a word and I'd practice. And those were my favorite moments because, like, I feel like you play basketball to show what you're made of. Like, I never played basketball to win championships. I never played to like make friends. I just played to show what I was made of. And, you know, those were moments that I went to bed at night. Like maybe nobody really read the situation the way that it was. Only I know it, but I get to go to bed knowing what I'm made of because of this shit. And those are always my favorite moments. And I had a lot of them.
Awesome. Jamie, for you, we're going to ask you your favorite. Well, you can tell us your favorite moment. But we're going to pull a clip up that we found online. It's our favorite moment of Jamie Smalligan's career at West Virginia. And we got to know what's going on in this. So, Danny, if you can in the background, pull that clip up for us. What's your favorite moment before we show the clip, Jamie? What was your favorite moment?
I would say senior year, that game against UConn. We in Madison Square Garden. I mean, that'll always be my favorite place to play, both between the Big East tournament and the NIT championship that we had there. But we felt a little robbed my junior year and not getting a at-large berth. You know, went on to win the NIT, which I think kind of proved that we were a team that was deserving of a bid in the NCAA. But when we beat UConn, who was a ranked team at the time, who beat us bad when we went to play at their place during the regular season, that was kind of the win that said, all right, without a doubt, we made it into the NCAAs. You know, and it kind of gave us some momentum where, okay, we had, a 5 seed against Arizona. People were thinking we're that glorified upset game, blew by them. Then we get a chance to play Duke, show that we're legitimate, beat them, and then, you know, go to Xavier and play them in Phoenix. And, you know, Joe would have made 2 fucking free throws, gone to the Final Four. But yeah, I mean, I would say that game, winning in Madison Square Garden, knowing like, hey, we've got an at-large bid. Let's keep playing. Let's finally play for a national championship here. That was exciting.
All right, I agree. You know, two free throws in Xavier were in the Final Four, man. But
I think it was one free throw. It was an and one.
You missed one.
I missed. No, it was an and one. So I missed the only one. Yeah.
Okay. What did we lose by in that game?
A lot in overtime.
Okay, gotcha. So if you make the free throw, we win the game. But obviously things still worked out for you. So the fans of West Virginia just had to cry about it for a while.
Yeah, I know. So bad.
Jamie, we got the clip ready to go. So this is the favorite clip I found online. Joe, can you see this? Do you remember this game?
Yeah, I see it. I don't know what's going on though.
All right, so this is West Virginia versus Duquesne. I don't know what's going on with Jamie, but you'll see here in a minute. He just came up and blasted a guy and gets thrown out of the game.
Oh yeah, I remember this. Jamie, what the hell are you doing?
Yeah, what are you doing, Jamie?
Walk us through this. I don't know.
God, Jamie was a big boy. Yo, look how young Huggins is. Oh my God.
Young and skinny, huh?
I was still trying to hold on to some hair at that point.
Billy is looking sharp.
You guys are actually you're playing Duquesne and Ron Everhart's on the other bench. He's on staff with Hugs now. So
yeah. Duquesne was a good rivalry. Like people talk about Marshall, and obviously they were always hyped. The state was hyped for that, but Duquesne, just like Pitt, you know, they're right in our backyard. We played them every single year. We know that they always wanted to come in. We're going to give us, you know, as good an effort as they would any other game.
What's
there's a lot into that play. I remember, obviously, it's early in the game. We're what, 3 minutes in? Was that 8 minutes in? I can't even see, but
and it's like 9 minutes in. 9 minutes in.
Yeah. So the guy that I knocked over checked in at the free throw line. They had a free throw that was, you know, obviously going in. You know, you can kind of tell when you're boxing out there, and he elbowed me in the mouth. Whatever, no big deal. They pressed full court. My back is to our basket. We all face, you know, whoever's bringing it up to be, you know, outlets and whatnot. And this is where he tripped me. Sure, you know, I could have been looking and watched out for it. Whatever, I get up off of the ground and I'm running to my corner to hide on offense. And I feel like in my mind at that point in time that he goes out of his way to come right back at me again. And it was kind of just a hot-headed immediate reaction to let me check this guy and tell him, you know, third strike, see ya. And the ref was standing right there, couldn't have seen it any better, and said, see you later.
So you purposely blasted him. You were just like, this guy's done.
Yeah, I didn't think it would be something that would get ejected for. I think, you know, at that point, honestly, there's no fist in there. I don't even think it was an intentional foul. But again, how it looks on video to how I thought it was going to look in my head, I thought it was a little more discreet.
So he deserved that. He 100% deserved what you just did to him.
Yeah, no, I mean, nobody else understood what was going on at the time. Coach Huggins, honestly, he didn't even care. He gave me crap because when he was in college playing for WVU, he also got kicked out against Duquesne. And he said, well, when I played, the guy didn't show up for the next game either. It's like, well, Coach Huggins, I'm a senior. I'm not going to be here for the next game. So again, thankfully we won that game. I'm sitting in the locker room praying that, you know, we can get away with a lot of mistakes in the game if we get a W. You know, but Coach Huggins doesn't believe in the whole bad loss or good loss type things. You know, so if we were to let anything that we did wrong in a good loss or whatever is going to be dissected, and that would have been front and center.
He doesn't even look mad at you right there. No, not mad at all.
Yeah. You know, and this is before they were like, I mean, we had replays on TV, on the screen and whatnot, but it happened so fast, I don't think anybody understood what was going on.
Alex doesn't really get mad at the games, does he? I mean, like, as far as something like that happening.
Man. As far as that,
it doesn't even look like he really is concerned.
Yeah. I mean, it's funny you say, I remember the first time, Joe, we were at, we played a preseason tournament in New Jersey. First round, I think we played Nevada or New Mexico State or somebody. And this was, you know, we played our introductory exhibition games or preseason guinea pigs or sacrificial lambs, you know, would win by 30. And it'd be hard for Coach Huggins to really get upset. And then when we started out poorly against New Mexico State and we're sitting in a timeout, he starts screaming to the point that his face turns like purple. And we're thinking that he's like stopping breathing, going to have another heart attack. We couldn't even listen to what he's saying. Either way, it did the job motivating us to the next game. I mean, Joe, do you remember what he said about Jackie, his daughter, as well as the coach's son for Tennessee?
I have no idea. No, I don't remember anything.
Well, he what's the coach's name for Auburn right now? Because he's the one that's at
Bruce Pearl.
Yeah, and he was at Tennessee at the time, and his son was a walk-on. You know, and he threw it around during scouting reports and practice. Like, I swear to God, if this kid gets in the game, you will all run for 4 hours on the next practice. We played Tennessee well and lost by 1 point, but it was like 12 minutes into the first half, and we're all out there, and we see this kid check into the game, and we're like, oh, my God. And it's like, you all better play and compete, and if these guys get their, pity minutes, then you're screwed. But it just went through our head. And they had a kid from Cincinnati on the team that apparently lived on the same street that Coach Hennings did. And he'd be like, Jockey used to kick his ass and like yelling, I forget, he was yelling at Wellington or someone at halftime and all this. But he is interesting. Like there was nothing stopped him in terms of like where he would go. I mean, obviously not disrespectful, but like he was very creative in the way that he would just try and crawl under your skin to light a fire.
Hey,
These
Jamie,
are facts.
bring that screen back up real quick. Bring everybody back on. We're done looking at Jamie. That got hard now. We had to do something since he skipped the hot chip challenge.
That's it.
So, Joe, let me ask you this something that I always wanted to ask you that I was interested in. Hopefully you can remember. We're talking about the dunk contest, and we were actually talking to Jamie about it. Some of the commercials you did, which were pretty hilarious. If you haven't seen them, look them up on YouTube. What 3 dunks would you have done in the dunk contest if you get voted in your rookie year?
It makes me sad to even talk about it. So I was gonna do a windmill honey dip. You guys know what that is?
Yep.
Yeah, but do you really know what it is?
Show us.
Have you ever
witnessed
witnessed
do it?
somebody
Show
do
us.
it? Have you witnessed a white guy do it? And the answer is no.
No.
Well, actually, no. Actually, you know what? Now there's like these professional dunk people, so that might not be true. This one I've never seen anybody do. I was gonna dunk off of 2 steps from the free throw line, which I don't think anybody's
go off
ever
2
done.
feet from the free throw line?
No. Off 2 steps.
2 steps. Okay, gotcha.
So you put a piece of tape on the free throw line, then you take 1 giant step backwards, then 1 more giant step, which actually, when you do your little tiny steps, it ends up being like 6 steps. But, for the show, it looks like 2 steps. And then I don't know what my third one was going to be. I don't think I had it in stone, but those 2, I thought I was going to win it with those 2 dunks.
So the third
And I
dunk
would-
we talked about. Let me ask you if it was true. You had made a joke about it. You were going to have Wesley Snipes and Woody Harrelson come out.
That's right. Yeah, I was going to dress as whatever his name was from the movie and try to get Wesley Snipes to throw me an alley-oop, something like that.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Okay. How could just fan votes you didn't make it in? I mean, dude, I would have loved to see you in the dunk contest.
It's so stupid that I wasn't in a dunk contest. They had this dumb vote-in thing, and it was stupid. They should have put me in.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Jamie, if you have
100%.
time later, check out the videos of Joe's dunk contest commercials. They're
Nah,
pretty
don't
fun.
look at them. Don't look at them. They're ridiculous.
He
My
said,
hair
hey,
is ridiculous.
He sings a song in one of them.
Sprite
He
commercials.
pulls a guitar out and sings a song. It's pretty classic.
I didn't know how to say no at that point in my life. Like if I could go back and they put that guitar in my hands, I would have just said hard no.
That's when Joe's showing his age. You played with what was his name from Arizona? That's a commentator now. Jefferson.
Richard Jefferson. Yeah.
Richard Jefferson. When Richard Jefferson was like Joe, like he was a big time athlete too. But
Yeah.
I wish he would have had his shot. He would have shocked the world.
Oh yeah, shock the world, baby.
Joe, what's the prince's name you played with from UCLA?
The what?
The prince. What was his name? He was a prince.
Oh, Luke Bamute.
Do you remember the car he drove? Me and Matt saw him driving. We're seeing all these NBA guys, Jamie, and he pulled up in Beantown.
So everyone's in like this brand new Range Rover, these beautiful cars. And then the Prince shows up in probably like a 1990 Honda Civic and was just happy as hell just to be able to walk home. And so can you tell us, Joe, like what the difference is between like guys that like chase this lavish lifestyle and then like, cause when we were up there, you drove like the car you drove in college.
Envoy, I hooked you up with stuff.
Envoy, we changed your oil. You're welcome.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Can you just kind of go into that? Like, what's the difference? And like, I don't know, what happens to certain guys?
I don't know. I think a lot of it is like some guys grow up faster than other people. So like, for example, when I was in the NBA, I didn't know anything about like lavish lifestyles. I mean, I couldn't have named luxury car brands for you at the time. So like that kind of lifestyle wasn't an option for me. And probably someone like Luke, it was similar, you know. But other guys, they're more tapped in, like they're aware of style and culture and brands, and so when they get some money, you know, they might be more inclined to go out and try to, you know, spend it, become one of those guys. Like, you know, some guys, they drive it, like they come into practice with the new Ferrari one week and everyone makes fun of them. Some guys, they come into practice with the same beat up car from college and everyone makes fun of them. So, you know, you get all ends of the spectrum. You know, some guys are cheap on the road. You know, they're trying to split checks when, you know, they're making $50,000 a day. They're trying to split the breakfast check with you. And then some idiots, you know, they're on rookie salaries and they're paying for everybody's meals at expensive steakhouses. The money situation in the NBA is an absolute circus.
Are you talking about the time you took us to a steakhouse? Because I feel a little insulted there.
No, I mean like teams, like, you know, you go out with
the
like
whole team.
But yeah, I mean when we went to a steakhouse, where did we go? There were like 4 or 5 steakhouses in Milwaukee. I probably take you guys to all of them.
Yeah, I gotta tell you a true story here. Jamie, you might find this funny too. Joe would be like, "Hey man, you guys buy lunch or dinner or lunch or breakfast. I'll take care of dinner." So I'm poor at this point. Matt's poor at this point. Yeah. We're college kids. I'm like, all right, lunch can't be that bad at breakfast. I bet you Joe ordered $120 worth of food, and I'm like, I'm not
Every time.
I wouldn't even eat breakfast. I'm like, I'm not hungry.
I have 17 bagels. I mean, this was Joe's order. I mean, listen, wherever we went though, like for dinner, every appetizer on the menu was put out on the table. I mean, me and Bobby both gained 25 pounds in that trip. We stayed with him for 2 weeks. I guarantee it. So he had these Gatorade protein shakes that Milwaukee was giving him. And me and Bobby were drinking them for breakfast, for lunch, throughout the day. I'm just, you know, stealing from Joe. You know, he's an NBA player. So I'm sipping these things all day, dude. I remember on the way home, I look at Bobby, I'm like, bro, I feel terrible. Like, I'm like 25 pounds overweight right now because of Joe Alexander and his protein shakes.
No, I used to order those shakes off Gatorade.com by the pallet, bro. I had like 100 of them shipped to my house at a time. And yeah, I mean, I never touched a restaurant without saying, bring me every appetizer on the menu. Everything would come out one by one. It didn't matter how many people I was eating with. I could be there by myself. And like, you know, you can do those things when you're on, you know, in the NBA.
Joe, so 2 things. Chipotle bills, I think you ordered like 3 burritos when we bought lunch. Again, we just drank Gatorade shakes. But one time at PF Chang's, I think you ordered 80 dumplings to go, and I went and picked them up. It's crazy. It was the craziest order I ever had. It was 80 dumplings. I was like, what in the hell is he doing?
Dude, I used to just buy and throw. I used to just throw away things. Like, I don't think I ever wore a pair of socks or underwear or shirt like more than once. I would just throw it away every time I wore anything.
Hey, Jamie, we were so grimy. When he would throw his NBA socks, he'd be like, I'm not wearing these again. Me and Matt would take them, wash them, take them home with us.
Absolutely.
Those socks cost money, man. We were poor.
Right.
Yeah. I doubt I ate more than like 2 of those dumplings, bro.
Probably.
I'm not exposing Joe's amateurism because he ended up, you know, he didn't declare right away. He wasn't a guy like, all right, season's over, I'm going pro. But, you know, they had the autograph sessions and whatnot, and they bring the seniors around to go do them down in Charleston, et cetera, get paid a little bit. But they'd also say like, hey, you know, bring us shoes, bring us photos. And I would just take a stack of 100 photos, force Joe to sign every single one of them and go sell them for $4 a piece. Have Joe sign. These are Joe's game worn shoes. And
oh my God. Jamie and Joe, we do a giveaway on the body. So find a picture, find some shoes or a jersey, and we raffle it off to West Virginia fans. It's a good transition.
Hey, I still got the Joe Alexander rookie cards that we took when the Topps guy came. You signed like 6,000 cards, and me and Bobby just went through and took whatever we wanted, and you just didn't care.
Hey man, those were fun times, man. There was always, my apartment was just like littered. Every counter was just like littered with stuff that had been mailed that people needed signed. Like there were booklets.
Hold on. I gotta stop you because you say apartment, but no one realizes. So I don't know who gave it to you. I don't know who it was. So I stood outside one day and had a call on the cell phone, and people were walking by, and they were like, "What museum is this?" And I was like, "No. It's not a museum. It's just my friend's apartment. I'm not gonna tell you who it is, but it was pretty phenomenal. I can't lie to you."
No, you guys don't even know though. Like after you guys left, I actually opened what I called the West Wing, because it was a museum and there were two wings, and the one that you guys lived in with me there was just like the entrance hall. So I opened the West Wing, which was 3 times the size of the one that I lived in. It was a museum, and it was haunted. It was really haunted. No, I'm not joking. It was haunted. And so in the other side of it, like, I was gonna put a full-size basketball court in it, and I should have in retrospect. But I had like a fucked up night, and I realized it was haunted, and I was like, I can't build a haunted basketball court. I don't think that's good energy for my NBA journey. So I didn't. But that place, look, it had gargoyles. It had gargoyles.
Oh, I remember. Dude. It was wild as shit.
It frightened children. Like, people cross the street to not have to walk in front of it. And I still, my God's honest truth, I have nightmares about that place.
Ogden Avenue, right?
Really?
It was on Ogden Avenue.
Ogden. Yeah, I mean, you guys saw like the tame version of it. Like, once I opened that West Wing, it was straight up haunted. It was a museum. What do you want from me?
Joe, I gotta ask you a quick question. It's gotta come up, man, because nobody believes it when I tell it. I brought my friend up with me. You had never met him. I'm not gonna put his name out there. The third guy that came with us, I'll give you his first name, James. He was loud. He was excited. Do you remember the girls he brought back to your house? You hid in the closet, was like, Bobby, get these fucking girls out of my house. They didn't have teeth. They looked homeless.
I do not remember this in the slightest.
It was,
and not wait. I want to make a point. Not because this is obviously some kind of party story. I don't remember it, not because I was drunk, because like the antics that went on at my house, like they just happened. They happened like around me. Like, I was focused on practice, and like I was like living my scheduled life, and like whoever would come to visit me would just kind of like do weird stuff, and I would just be like, all right, cool, yeah, whatever. Like, enjoy.
That's for sure.
I'll be in the West Wing. Like, enjoy yourself.
Dude, I remember we definitely lived the NBA lifestyle. We would tell people, "Oh, we're with Alexander. 2 weeks free drink,
3 weeks, whatever it was. So, Jamie, real quick, just a transition. So you told me basically to get into a conversation with Joe. He's into cryptocurrency. But before we do that, go ahead and tell everyone what you're doing in Cincinnati with real estate and how to get a hold of you, and throw the plug out there real quick.
Yeah, I mean, so I do deal full-time commercial investment. Dude, nice angle, Joe. So small multifamily, 4 to 20 units. I actually started in a single family. When I was in Nashville, I did a little bit of ground up construction close to downtown, right before that market started booming incredibly. Joe and I started, is the first time I'd ever invested with a partner in 2 of those new constructions down there. And then came back here and started doing the same thing in Cincinnati again. I was a broker for a freight company for 12 years, left there April of last year to do this full time. And it's been great, kind of transition. There's a funny story, there'll be one more Huggins story. If you look back, we played Louisville in Assembly Hall, I think it was called, the last game, in their storied little stadium that they had, and they beat us pretty bad. We didn't play very good. And we're watching film the next day, and there was a play where I had an offensive rebound, and I flipped it back out to where nobody was, and it went out of bounds. And he, Huggins just turns to me and says, Jamie, you're a senior. Like, what the hell are you going to do next year? Like, this is it. Like, what are you going to do? Herm's housing? And like, there was like a joke about coaches be like a realtor and all this. So when I started buying houses, we started the company Herm's Housing, and I sent him some information. It's like, look, Dad, I did it. But so this day, I realized it's more than just insightful investment. It's something I believe in, and now I work with other investors and a little bit of syndication and whatnot, as well as for ourselves. Try to continue with Joe. Joe's got his own plans and been doing that on the side too as well. But I'm sure we'll continue to find things together in the future.
Oh, for sure. So if I'm in the Cincinnati area and I want real estate, who am I coming to? What's your company name? How do I go?
Twitter, Instagram, whatever you want to shout out.
Yeah. So my company is Key Property Partners. We're a small commercial boutique here in Columbia, Tuscaloosa, just in the southeast side of Cincinnati. We deal with investment only, non-residential, but looking for people that are looking to build a portfolio, maybe either to balance out what they have in terms of the stock market and whatnot, and everything else. I think, the environment that we're in, obviously we know the housing market is crazy. That's commercial. What's going on with the value of the dollar in this inflationary period that we're in, is doing nothing but skyrocketing the price of any tangible asset, which is why real estate has been great.
Cool, man.
Also, shout out to the squad and Call of Duty Warzone friends from West Virginia. Gotta love the state, and we got a group of 16 guys that send 300 text messages a day.
Nice.
In Charleston and whatnot, but I love the community and whatnot, and those guys they're dropping in Verdansk and Caldera with me.
Jamie, so like I said, we do giveaways to our fans. The West Virginia guys love you, man. So if you got a jersey or a shoes or a picture I can get from our guy Dale Sparks, anything like that, we'll do a Jamie Smalligan giveaway. I know the fans love that stuff, so we're hitting you up for some free stuff too. And if you're ever in Morgantown and want to come live on the show, we'd love to have you or Joe before we get to the weird shit, because I know that's what's coming.
Yeah, Joe.
Yeah.
Anybody
I'm not
that
with
knows Alexander knows that this is coming.
I'm not with it.
You're not with it right now.
I'm
This
not
is the
with it.
middle of the
Hey,
night,
did you say Danny Smalligan? That's what I heard.
Jamie.
I think his name's Jamie, Joe.
It's called
It
is.
Boddy.
Before we get real weird, Joe, you're into cryptocurrency, right?
Yeah, perhaps. Who's
Can
asking?
Can you maybe slide into the cryptocurrency talk and just tell us like what you're investing in, things you've had success with, things that you wish you didn't do, stuff like that.
I mean, look, being in cryptocurrency right now is like being on the cutting edge of the internet in the early 90s. The technology behind crypto coins is, I believe, has unavoidable use cases for the future of the internet, and for the future of money, for the future of what software can provide. And anyone that's not doing it right now is doing themselves a disservice. So I think it's a great space to be in, and it's a lot of fun.
Getting into crypto.
And you can make money. You can make a lot of money, or you can lose a lot of money. That's fun too.
I mean, it's a gamble. Well, whatever. All right. So,
Yeah. Hey, if you like gambling.
I love gambling, but we've had a lot of conversations over the years, and I set out a couple questions for you because we've shot some videos back and forth, and it's been a long time since I've really talked to you about this. So I threw out some questions, wrote down some questions that maybe people want to know. I mean, maybe people don't care.
Jesus.
Are we living in a simulation?
Shit. I don't know, man. But isn't that enough to be interesting, to be able to be like, I don't know? Because that means maybe we're living in a simulation.
Right.
I mean, each of us individually is definitely living in a simulation of our own like warped perspective of reality, which is, kind of fucked up. So I don't know.
Hey, James, I'm checking out with you, buddy. I'm good. With the next one.
All right. So Joe,
I've been living with Joe and his conspiracy theories for what is it, 14 years now? Like I get it.
Hey, okay.
Joe, have you looked into the Mandela effect? Is the Mandela effect real?
The Mandela effect?
Have you not listened to that yet?
Hey, look at the Berenstain Bears books, guys.
I'm with you.
Come on.
I'm with
Some
you.
things are undeniable. I read those books as a kid. It was Berenstain.
100%. All right, so Joe, does the Illuminati exist?
Of course, man. Yeah, the Illuminati exists, but it's not what people think. I mean, it's not this nefarious evil entity working to control everybody. It's just a group of people whose motivations happen to be aligned, and they happen to be malaligned with most people on the planet. Just people with specific financial interests, specific political or religious interests. And it's just like a group of people form a fraternity at a college campus because they all have similar interests. And then what do? They push for each other, they pull for each other. And as they coalesce, their ideas and ideals become more reflected in each other. It's just a culture, basically. That's all that it is. And you could call the Illuminati just a culture of elites. When you get a ton of money, you have different priorities than everybody else on earth. So you get immersed in this culture, and yeah, it exists, of course. Like, what do you want from me? Does a culture of elite people exist? Of course.
Here's what I want from you, Joe. I watched the videos of LeBron warm ups. He's doing all this crazy stuff, and I see it. They're saying he's saluting the Illuminati people. You played in the NBA. You had a ton of money to need. Did they approach you to join the Illuminati?
I approached myself to join it. They look. I'm gonna be totally real with you. I've heard stories from guys in the NBA about being approached. So yes, I have heard about that stuff. No, not LeBron, and no, not the dumb stuff you see in warm. Like, come on, that's all like that's stuff for I don't know what to call that. That's all stupid. But yeah, it's real stuff, man.
So you didn't get in, or did you get in? Because you said you were approached.
I like drew up a little like Illuminati logo in Microsoft Paint, and I let myself in. So yeah, I'm in, bro.
Congrats, Joe. Way to go, Joe.
Thanks.
Appreciate you.
Thanks,
All right,
guys.
so real quick, our alternative timelines / the multiverse reel. So in a different timeline, I don't know. Jamie Smalligan's 8th overall pick. Jamie's still in real estate. Right.
I think like the multiverse is like a scientific like field of study that scientists are trying to prove. And I don't know if that's a conspiracy theory. I think it's more of like they're trying to prove it mathematically, but like alternate timelines. I don't know if anybody knows the answer to that one. I mean,
It's not whether we know that. We just want to know your opinion, Joe.
Oh, my opinion?
Yeah, we just want to know your opinion.
Well, alternate timelines. I mean, shit. I was never really interested in alternate timelines. Like, what I'm more interested in is that, like, I believe the directional nature of time is not. It's not the way that we think it is. I think it works backwards just as much as it works forward. So like one thing I always tried to do with like basketball in my career was I tried to talk to myself in the future. Because like, whoever you are now, you're going to be smarter in the future, right? So if I want to talk to anyone who knows what to do, I want to talk to myself in the future. But how do I talk to myself, right? Because I got to be talking to somebody, right? So what I also try to do like today and always is I try to talk to myself from the past. Because like, time works forward and backwards. So like, I think like 10 years ago or 15 years ago when I was at West Virginia, I used to sit in bed and be like, hey, Joe, like, give me some wisdom. Like, tell me what to do. Like, how do I get to the NBA, bro? And I used to get answers. So like now I'm 35 years old. It's 15 years in the future. The NBA is behind me. But I can't just sit here like an asshole and be like, hey, I made it. No. I got to talk to myself in the past. I got to have that conversation. So like, I believe time works forward just as much as it works backwards. Same shit. Like, cause and effect. It works backwards through time. Does that answer your goddamn question?
Hey, listen, phenomenal. You say you talk to yourself. Is it out loud? Jamie, were you listening to these conversations?
No.
Oh, yeah. I have a question for Joe too.
Perfect.
Yeah, Joe, I want to know, this is your chance to say I told you so when we pull this out in 10 years from now, but explain what the metaverse is going to be in 2032.
Wow, what a question. All right, so I'm about to tell you guys something nobody's ever said, and nobody's ever said it, ever. You're about to hear, and this is what's going to happen with the metaverse. Does anyone here not know what the metaverse is?
Explain to everybody. Everybody's watching. Anybody's watching. Explain the metaverse. Go through it.
Oh my God. Look, the metaverse is an area that's right now dominated by cryptocurrency, where they talk about a decentralized, like, virtual reality environment where people abandon their lives in, 5 sense reality to engage in an augmented artificial 5 sense reality that's facilitated by computers. It's virtual reality, basically, with the goal of creating hyper realism so that you can't distinguish between the digital world and the real world. It's the Matrix, basically. So that's the metaverse. And but what everyone's hell bent on is how can we bridge this gap into hyper realism? And they're imagining that it's advances in digital technology, like imaging technology, the pixels on the screen, the realistic nature of the graphics. And that's not what it's going to be. The future of the metaverse in 10 years is that it's going to be a pharmaceutical industry. So like the way that you engage with the real world today is what you wake up in your sleepies. You're in this augmented state of consciousness that you can't really experience 5 cents data in its optimal form. So what do? You drink coffee. So you ingest a medication, a very slight and subtle medication, so that you can perk up your 5 cents data and be plugged into the real world. Well, the same concept and process is going to take place in the metaverse. It's going to be a pharmaceutical industry. It's not going to matter what the graphics look like, what the hyper realism of the software is. All that's going to matter is the meta coffee that you drink. So to plug into the level of consciousness that you need to be at to experience the 5 cents data of the metaverse, you're going to drink a particular type of anti-coffee that takes you under, or takes you to like this buoyant state of consciousness to put you right where you need to be to experience it at its fullest, just like you do in the real world. And that industry is going to be based on pharmaceutical drugs. Like when I go to plug into the metaverse, it's not going to be about, do I have the best VR headset? It's going to be about, do I have the best IV drip of the company that's providing the latest drugs that really put me in the correct state, like something just below normal consciousness and just above sleep. So that's the future of the metaverse. There's no question about it. It's a pharmaceutical industry. It's not a digital technology industry.
I'm with you, Joe. Joe, let me ask you a question. You ever smoke DMT?
Yeah. I'm sorry?
DMT?
What's DMT?
The third eye. It's what, yeah, I'm just messing with you, man. But basically, it's the third eye. It's what you produce with dreams.
Oh. Have I ever smoked it?
Yeah. Mike Tyson talks about it all the time. He says, insane. You go to like another dimension.
Joe Rogan loves it.
Joe Rogan, like all these famous people are like on the DMT deal, man.
Isn't DMT and marijuana? Isn't DMT and weed?
No.
THC.
THC.
No, I've never smoked DMT. No.
I was just messing with you, man.
It takes you to the stage that you're talking about that you think the pharmaceuticals are going to get you to. It takes you to the whole world.
Yeah. That's what you're like basically describing right there. Is like the only reason I commented that is because that absolutely sounds like almost like another reality, man.
Yeah, it's just altered states of consciousness. You need drugs to get there. We're familiar, we're comfortable doing it in the real world. You're going to get comfortable doing it when you interact with your computer too. It won't be something that we think is weird in the future. It'll just be like drinking a cup of coffee. You sit down to do work now, you drink coffee. You're going to sit down at your computer in the future, put on your VR headset and drink a cup of meta coffee and go into an altered state of consciousness.
That's cool. Timeline wise, I mean, how long is your prediction for that? Is that in our lifetime?
Yeah. I think within the decade.
Wow.
Yep.
So as a guy that played in the NBA, both of you guys played college basketball. When that stuff starts happening, sports in the real world, as we call it, they're going to go away, then, right?
No, I don't think so. I think the metaverse and the real world are going to coexist for quite some time. I think it's about resource efficiency. When a lot of people are relegated to their homes and living in the metaverse, you save a lot of the Earth's scarce resources. I think that's a big motivation for everything, and for individuals in their own lives. They don't have to spend as much money. If you can live a fulfilling and adventurous life on your computer, what resources do you have to spend? So
don't you think they're going to look at Fortnite or video games? That's basically a different reality. We're not living in it, but you got to spend money to upgrade. You got to spend money to get the new outfits, the new skins. That's basically going to happen too with these pharmaceutical companies, I'm guessing. They're going to nickel and dime. They're going to make money somehow, right?
Yeah, I mean, look, a lot of the money that they're making is, I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought here. What was your question?
So you said that if you can save money staying home, that people are going to like that better, but they're still going to sell you upgrade your avatar, upgrade your outfits, things like that, you're still gonna have to spend money.
He's essentially asking, Joe, is capitalism still going to exist in the metaverse? And I think we already see that, yes. I mean, you follow like this whole NFTs and whatnot, which seem completely ridiculous, and whether it's around money laundering versus as much as it is in believing in tangible art, but like real estate and whatnot, you've got, digital land that is being sold, again, could be money laundering, could be belief in the process. What the difference is in my mind, I don't understand, like talk about real estate and the immobility or immovability of land, how it's a finite quality, and digitally you think there's going to be an infinite amount, but think about COVID, like we're reminiscing about all these times with personal interactions, and now Zoom calls like this are completely normal, like we have gotten completely accustomed to staying in our house as much as possible. And what Joe is talking about is, yeah, sure, there's going to be some sort of coexisting, but as much as possible, people are going to dive into this possibility that people can interact a little bit more. Imagine in 10 years that we're able to do this around each other in the metaverse, blah, 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 versus on video cameras with delays, if there's some sort of project that bridges the laziness of people to want to stay at home and not do anything, while also providing a little bit more real social interaction than just video cameras and IMs. I mean, there's some money in it. Joe convinced me to bet a little bit on it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, well, as far as like the capitalist market still existing in the metaverse, like, your value as a human being is not really in your ability to labor in the 5 cents, data world to create things. It's just not. Most of the time, what you're laboring for are the ideas and ingenuities that genius people came up with, and your labor is really a trivial part of the equation. So, like the value that humans bring to the table, that the big data companies want to mine, is your human ingenuity. And, you don't need to be mobile for any of that. You don't need to be consuming Earth's precious resources for that, according to them. All you need to be is a mind in a tank. And, maybe you've heard like, the world would be much better off if we had 100 more Einsteins or 10 more Einsteins, right? Like, how do you get 10 more Einsteins? And the answer is you get 50 billion more people. It's a numbers game with regard to geniuses and ingenuity. And so, like, when you think about people living in the metaverse, not consuming resources, and what value do they bring in terms of spending money and all this, they have value just by having a human brain. The human brain is somehow tethered to the infinite wisdom of the universe, and it's able to generate epiphany based on like the randomness of existence and interacting with the world. And so, like, when that process begins to take place in the metaverse, while not consuming not consuming Earth's limited resources, we're going to get human ingenuity, because the population can just explode. We can have 100 trillion people on the planet, which means we get 10 more Einstein based on the numbers game. Plus, our genes will be altered anyway, so we'll all be more intelligent anyways, and we'll be getting that random interaction with the world through games, through software, through digital life. And the value that you'll provide as a person is, like, think about math equations as a very simple one. Like, you don't need to be mobile in the world. You don't need to be bipedal to be doing math equations. You could be sitting at your desk doing it. So, like, in cryptocurrency, we have this term called proof of work, where you're literally solving math equations. Well, the same thing will go on with humans in the metaverse. Like, proof of work will just be us consciously engaging with the fake world, coming up with ingenious ideas, coming up with new inventions, new ideas, solving mathematical equations, having a human brain. That's the value that you'll provide.
All right. So last thing, I recently heard Elon Musk talk about putting a computer chip into someone's brain. Is that step one of this? Like, is enhancing our brain activity, is that number one? I mean, is that completely different?
No, that's like step 1,000. Like, we're already knee deep in what's called the Transhumanist Movement. This is actually the fourth industrial revolution that we're involved in. So the last industrial revolution that we had was the microchip revolution. The one before that was oil. The one before that was the steam engine, and then And then now the fourth one is the transhumanist industrial revolution. Everything's about to change. It's the merger of humans with machines. And the microchipping in our brains, it's called Neuralink, that Elon Musk is doing, is yeah, it's a big part of it. But, you know, I don't know what words I could say on here without getting flagged, but, you know, there were certain things injected into people's bodies recently. And that kind of a thing is going to be done at a mass scale, and it's going to be very routine. And the ingredients in those are going to be digital, live, active agents that interact with not only your immune system, but with your DNA itself, with the proteins in your body that allow you to replicate genes. And once this starts to be routine, we will merge with machines within a quarter of a generation. And this is what's openly called the Transhumanist Movement. This is not a conspiracy theory. This is not a bunch of incels in their basement who are scared of elites. This is the on public record agenda of the elites themselves. This is where we're heading. It's what we're doing. This is the next industrial revolution that we're immersed in right now. And Elon Musk's Neuralink is not the start of it. This is we're about 3-4 decades deep in it already. Anybody got a fucking problem with that?
I mean, I'm a little lost for words right now.
I mean, shit, I was going to ask you conspiracy theories about Jeffrey Epstein and shit. We're on.
Right. You're
changing
the whole world.
We're changing the game here at the body.
Way deeper.
What'd you say?
I said we're changing the game here at the body. Transhumanist body.
100%.
But look, I mean, I don't have anything else right now. I'm going to ask you the same thing I asked Danny. Danny can get you an address to send to, a jersey, a pair of shoes, something we can raffle off. Give it to
I'm
the
not
fans.
giving you shit, bro.
It's not to
Listen.
me. It goes to the fans.
Hold on.
Listen,
Last
guys.
story.
All right, for the fans, I'll give them whatever they want. I don't have
Hey,
anything.
last story. Do you
I got this
remember?
Goku hat. This is all I got.
I don't remember when it was back in town for. We met you at the Waterfront Motel in Morgantown, and you threw your jersey like over the ledge of, I don't know, like the fourth floor balcony, and made Bobby go out and like creep out and get it.
I climbed out and got it.
Do you remember that?
No, I don't.
Bro, you have the worst memory ever.
Joe, shoes or a jersey, send it to the body. We're giving it to the Mountaineer fans, man. They love you guys. They love hearing from you.
Wait, why do you guys think we're done talking about conspiracy theories?
Go ahead, dude. Talk it.
Keep
Listen,
talking.
I have all night.
You're the one that ain't got to sleep for tomorrow.
Listen to me very carefully. Okay, so there's a conspiracy theory out there that is my personal favorite. Okay, it's called Back to the Future predicts 9/11. You ever heard of it?
We wanted to talk about 9/11.
Yeah.
We just didn't know if you guys would have that
I didn't
discussion.
know if that was cool.
Have you heard of this conspiracy theory?
I'm about to look it up. Go ahead, fill us in.
Do you know what's unique about this conspiracy theory?
Marty McFly.
No, it's that the movie Back to the Future predicted 9/11.
How so?
Well, you got to dive into it. There's a bunch of YouTube videos about it. It's a huge thing. You got to go check it out online. But it's basically that the director embedded clues in the film that tipped you off as tipped the audience off as to what was going to happen almost 30 years before the event.
The clock was pointed at 9 and 11.
That's right. Listen, there was a terrorist attack at the Twin Pines Mall. I mean, it's obvious, right? The Twin Pines Mall, right?
Pretty close.
It's undeniable.
Hey,
Oh my God.
Joe, let me ask you this. How deep down the rabbit hole do you go? Because I've watched a lot of QAnon videos, and they're talking about the elitists stealing the cut me out with the word.
Adrenochrome.
Yeah, from the adrenal glands inside our bodies. Are you down that rabbit hole?
No. Like little kids' bodies, not just people's bodies.
Hey, look, I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I don't know anything about QAnon. I know that it's real big recently, but no, I don't know anything about stealing adrenal glands. It sounds lucrative. It sounds lucrative.
Yeah. Probably good market.
All right, I'm gonna break this down for you. So Back to the Future predicts 9/11 is my conspiracy theory, okay? It's mine.
All right. Let's go.
I came up with it. So you need you need to go online and you need to look it up, and that's it. What else can I say about it? Go on YouTube and search for it.
All right. I'm gonna get definitely deep into the rabbit hole here.
What else you want us to look at, Joe? What else we look at?
Anything else? Is that it? This is your one. I'm writing it down right now.
Anything else? Man, the best conspiracy theory in the world is the global financial system, man. That's the greatest conspiracy of all time, is creating money out of nothing and lending it to people. Lending people money that you don't have and charging interest for it, and then doing it at scale, lending money to governments that you don't have. I mean, that is the greatest conspiracy ever created, except it's real.
Very real.
Very real, my friend.
Joe, I'll tell you something crazy. I just had it up. In 2010, you sent me a video to watch on that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I've watched it, and it got me going down the rabbit hole.
Well, I'm okay. Yeah. Which one was it?
Yeah.
Was it Money Masters?
It says it's 7 a.m. I'm in Spain. The time has come for you to learn about the stranglehold the international bankers have on us, common folk.
This is a message from me to you.
This is from you to me. I said, please tell me more about this. You said, you're too bright not to understand what's really happening. I have a YouTube video. I've watched it. My response was, I'm really smart, Joe.
I'll have to check that out.
You also told me to avoid the clap, which I don't think is a conspiracy theory.
That's good advice, though.
Great advice. Great advice. Jamie, what do you got anything? I mean, you live with this guy for 4 years.
Man, I mean, Joe, I guess the only thing we talked about back then was how he thought 9/11 was planned. I mean, he's certainly not the only one that thought about or thinks that. But no, I mean, I have selective hearing when I listen to Joe. I love hearing his rants and whatnot, but also he sometimes gets a little too far-fetched for me.
Some of it's not quite palatable. Understandably. Bobby, I take back my message from 10 years ago about you being too bright.
You also told me in a further message from you that I was a very sexy man. So we were having some great conversations.
I was trying to butter you up so you would watch the conspiracy video.
Hold on. He says you were a sexy man.
First
what
off,
is going on?
it wasn't like a continuation text. That was the first text. You started with, God, you're one sexy man. Bobby replied, thanks, man. How you doing?
You realize I was probably playing the Chicago Bulls at the time, and I took time out of my precious day to send you that message.
Probably. I appreciate it. Yeah, I appreciate it, man.
That's a good day.
Oh, my God.
I wish I would have been a little more focused instead of thinking about how sexy you are.
I'm distracted. What can I say?
I understand.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
Joe, go ahead and give it a shot. I don't know if we've done it already, but I've watched your YouTube videos. I love them. Actually, I watched the one today about getting dubs. You even showed up to the weight room, and if you're having a bad day, laugh it off, man, and get the workout out and get the dub every day, which is a great message. Go ahead and tell anybody who's watching this, anything you want to promote too, because we gave Jamie the opportunity. So,
bro, I can't promote anything after just talking about 9/11 and Back to the Future. Look, I started to I talk about basketball without even thinking, because it just comes out of me. I talk about it with my buddies, and I tell them what idiots they are. And when kids talk to me about trying to get better at basketball, I'm just like, you guys have no idea what's important. Just no clue. And most of your trainers also don't know. So I try to tell them what is important and what matters. And so I started just recording myself having these conversations. And then I started posting it. So it's not like a podcast. It's not like anything. It's just basically a diary of me telling people that they're idiots. And if they want to play professional basketball, they really got to stop doing everything they think is right and just start listening to me instead. And, when I was a kid, really all I wanted as a kid was a professional basketball player to come into my life and tell me what to do. and there was nobody. And I would always like look for books that taught me what to do, but they were all like just shallow platitudes and just nonsense about like listen to your parents, like shoot free throws after practice. I was like, doesn't anyone have some real fucking like meat about what it takes?
Right.
And I now that I'm on the other side of that, you know, I'm 15 years deep in this playing pro. Like I've seen everything you could possibly see in the pros, and I'm like, I should do for people what I wanted to do, what I wanted done for me. Kind of like I said, you know, you talk to yourself in the future, and then you got to be the other end of that line and talk to yourself in the past. So I'm doing that in these videos. You know, I talk about stuff off the court. I don't talk about like the skills you need, because kids hear that stuff from trainers, even though most of it's wrong anyways. So I teach them about what it takes to be a professional athlete. Like,
what's the name of YouTube?
it's just my name, Joe Alexander.
Type it on YouTube. Let me ask. I got an 8-year-old son. We practice basketball all the time. Obviously, I love basketball. What are you telling him? Because obviously, he's listening to dad say, "Got to do this. Got to do this. We got to do this. We got to do this." What are you telling my 8-year-old son that he needs to do? What's the one thing he needs to do right now if he wants to play college basketball? Not even make it professional. Play college basketball.
Look, I tell people there's no magic bullet. There's nothing I can tell you right now that wouldn't take 100 hours to really provide some value. But that's why I made the channel, is because it's a lot of hours. And what I tell guys is you need to start learning and stop working. Like the more work that you do without learning, the more you're just spinning your wheels doing nonsense and that you think is going to help you because it makes you sweat. And unfortunately, people who never played pro, all they had to teach you is how to sweat. You know, if there is a magic bullet, which there isn't, I would say, man, it comes down to you got to challenge yourself every day. But you know, what the fuck? How does that help anybody? It doesn't really. But look, my channel gets into the tiny, most nuanced details of what you got to do. How you need to nod your head when you're talking to your coach. How you need to talk to yourself before games and before practice, and how you need to plan your weeks. You know, how many hours you need to put in doing this and that and this, and you know, what kind of mantras you need to build, how you need to build a lifestyle so that you can reinforce these mantras. How you need to isolate.
What age are you directed to? Then? Like, when does somebody start listening to you
Bro,
on YouTube?
the earlier you start, the better. You don't have a day to waste. Like, pro basketball is so competitive that you can be a super freak athletic player and the most talented player in the world and never play pro, man. Like, you don't have a single day. Like, when I was growing up, I don't think I missed a single day of working out for 10 straight years. And that's not a joke. And even then, you got to get crazy lucky. Like, you asked me earlier in the day, if Huggins didn't come, what would have happened to you? Bro, I could have easily never played pro. Easily. And I'm talking about, I never missed a day for 10 straight years. And I'm 6'8", 40-inch vertical, and I could have wound up, you know, working at McDonald's. I just mean that metaphorically for not playing pro. If you're 8 years old, if you're 10 years old, if you're 12 years old, if you're 5 years old, you can't miss a day. So, like, if you want to start and get serious about playing pro, yeah, man, you got to start now. And then pray that you get lucky, and pray you don't get hurt.
How responsible are you on your channel with people that want to reach out to you? There's plenty of people I know in this area that's going to be like, man, Joe's got that channel, I'm going to watch it. But how responsible are you? Are you answering questions? Are you getting back in touch with people?
Bro, I'm not selling anything on there. Just anyone that wants to comment can comment. If people want specific videos, I talk about them. Like, they leave me comments and I make videos about it. But look, it's never like what guys think they will need or think they want. Like, guys always ask me, hey, how do I learn how to palm the ball? And I'm like, get the fuck out of here. It doesn't matter. Let me talk to you about something that matters. And that's the issue, is nobody knows what they should be working on. So they're like, I'm going to put 1,000 hours into this over the next 5 years. It's like, it's not going to move the needle for you. Not even a little bit. You were told that by the coach at your YMCA. Did he play pro? Like, bless his heart, but no. So I can't even remember your question. Yeah, they can. Anyone that wants to reach out to me, yeah, they can reach out to me. Like, you can go on my YouTube channel and comment. I love to interact with guys on there and do videos. It's not a big channel right now, but I put out a lot of content.
I watched most of the videos, and like I said, I love the video today that talked about just getting a dub. You can use that information in your daily life of just, hey man, whatever you're doing, if you're going to work, find a way to get a dub for that day. You know, don't take any L's. Basically, that's what I took from it. Maybe that's not what you meant, but that's what I took from watching it, dude. Find a way to get a dub.
No, that's exactly right. That's one of my favorite videos, actually. Yeah, talks about your expectations of your workout. And well, I don't know if you picked this up from that video, but it talks about spinning your wheels for like 6 months. This is what my channel is about. It's like, if you're a hardworking motherfucker, you can spin your wheels for 5 years and not get better. I've seen it happen. Like you can have coaches that care about you. You can be the first guy in, last guy out, and not get any better. And it's because you got the wrong information. So my channel is about like reorienting what you think is important. So
I love it, man. I appreciate you guys coming on. It's I know you woke up early, Jamie. You took time from the family. Mountaineer Nation loves you guys still. I get questions about when I was with the team. You both were on the team at that point when I was working there, and how much they want to know about you guys and how successful you were, especially now since we're not successful right now. But I mean, I got nothing but love for you guys for coming on and appreciate it. Matt feels the same way.
Hold on. I got 2 questions.
Yeah.
Matt,
All right.
how many times have you watched The Defiant Ones?
The Defiant Ones?
Why did I come on this podcast?
I don't know what that is.
Man, it's the Death Row Dr. Dre documentary.
Oh, I ain't seen that. I gotta definitely try it.
Oh my God.
That's
so
not
good.
it.
Bobby
That's
put
not
up
it.
some
That's
old ass
not it.
movie. Is it good?
And my question for you is, what's in your cup?
Water? It was water. He was drinking some beer.
Oh, it was moonshine. Really disappointed.
Fairly
He wasn't
disappointing.
done. He's
It was beer earlier, but I got to drive home, so it's water.
Yeah. Well, hey guys, appreciate you having us out. Hopefully do it again sometime down the road.
Yeah,
We'll
man.
have to
You
check
guys
it
are
out.
Love to
Yeah,
have y'all
back in,
live,
dude.
live in person, and get somebody else on, interview them.
In the metaverse, right? The next one will be in the metaverse.
We might